Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah.
Another episode of Trash Talk. I'm Damian Hill. With me, as always, is TJ O'Connor. Tonight we have James the Baby Rhino Clark. But first, Trash Talk is brought to you again by Valhalla Combat Sports Incorporated, Ink Shrink Statue out in New Brighton, Minnesota, Spartan Martial Arts, the Striking Institute, Origin Wellness CBD out in Minneapolis, Minnesota, the Fighters, and TJ's mom. Also, James Clark's sports psychology and hypnosis therapy. I can't believe I almost forgot that. How you doing, James Clark?
A little bored, actually.
So are you trying to say that you're excited now, finally, that you can talk with us over at Trash Talk?
No, for sure.
I'm
A little excitement for the quarantine. But no, I really do appreciate you taking the time to talk with us, Jim. Just all this going on. I mean, how's that, first and foremost, how's everybody doing on your end as far as, health-wise, everybody's good?
Yeah, no health issues. We're all fine here.
How have you been handling the quarantine situation, being a gym owner and your wife being a teacher, yourself being so involved with the community and all that stuff? How's this been for you?
Yeah, it's really, it has, for most people, it's really kind of turned our lives upside down. My wife is a school teacher. She's got to do classes online. Can't do classes in front of the kids, so they have to do them online. See, I have I have a couple things that I do, but it's all kind of up in the air. Like the gym, we're not supposed to open that up. And then I have a show, on. The last show was interfered with. Probably there were about maybe 50 people that didn't come because that's when it was first starting. That coronavirus. So probably about 50 people that didn't come to the show because they're afraid of that. And then we have our next show planned for May 3rd. And, if this quarantine doesn't get pushed any further, I'm still planning on keeping that date,
Yeah. I mean, hopefully all things work out because we were actually able to speak with Zach and his dad, Ryan, and pretty excited to see him go against Jeremiah Harper.
That should be a good fight.
Yeah. Where is that fight placed on the card? Is that the main event, co-main event, special attraction bout? Is that?
I think it'll be close up there. I haven't decided yet. There are a couple of really good fights there. Zach Gell, I think he's 3-0 on our shows.
Yeah.
And then Jeremiah Harper, I think he's the number 2 rated guy in the upper Midwest or something. So that should be a very good fight. But also, I don't even know his real name. I've seen him fight and I've seen videos on him. That guy that he calls himself MMA Murdoch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess is his name. Keontae Murdoch, him versus Josh Clark, my son, should be a very good fight also.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, who was his last opponent, or who was his opponent the last time he fought on your show?
He went against that guy that cut his finger, Isaac Taylor.
Yeah.
Here's what happened there. And to be fair, Isaac's a good fighter, but there was because of the coronavirus scare, some people didn't come, and so MMA Murdoch is really a 135 pounder, so he went up a weight and fought Isaac at 145. But this fight, actually, Josh was going to come up a weight class. Josh usually fights at 125, as you guys know, or like catch weights of 130, but he's going to come up to 135 to fight Murdoch, that's his natural weight, is 135. So, but Isaac did beat MMA Murdoch, but to be fair, it was out of his Murdoch's weight class.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
do remember that was a really great fight, though. I mean,
Sure.
a really good fight. So
Yeah, it was a good fight. And then you mentioned the fights that you got lined up here for May the 3rd, and obviously the card itself's turning pretty good. During this time, have you had people reaching out to you to confirm that this show's still a go and express interest? Do people just fiending for that competition?
Well, I think so far, like everybody that's in, and again for like the very last show that we did, we had more kickboxing fights than we actually had grappling matches.
yeah,
I think that's going to be the same this time, from what it seems. We have a good grappling match. We're doing kind of like, there's this one that we've had lined up about 4 or 5 times. I made a joke online that it's been booked and then canceled more times than the Khabib Ferguson fight. But it was it's kind of an armed forces battle. It's Patty Skildum versus John Chance Fortune. So it's the Marines against the Army, and they're doing a 10-minute EBI match. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. I think that's a fair match between those two. And but we have some grappling matches. But that's one of the ones that I'm kind of looking forward to seeing, is that one. We have some grappling matches set up, but we have more. We have 5 kickboxing fights lined up, and not so many. We have a couple wrestling matches and a couple jiu-jitsu matches, but it looks like we have more kickboxing as we did last time.
okay. Now, so one of the things that I don't know, if you watch the show, you're most likely a fighter, or you know someone that fights is on the local level or something like that. Now, one of the things is that we're all in quarantine, but I've already seen the memes of people like passing the notes in class, like jujitsu practice at such and such or whatever, right? Or when you're sharing notes to jujitsu practice and stuff, or to grappling or sparring, and all of them. And I've just been, and the thing is I'm talking to a lot of the guys. I know that that's one of the things that's most likely going on, but it's not able to be made public and things like that for reason.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to call anybody out or anything, but do you feel like there's going to be some gyms that are taking it seriously, or some guys that are taking it very seriously and not wanting to, or I mean, that are around, I mean, that these guys are around a bunch of people that are taking it seriously and they're not able to get the proper training but are still going to fight? Or do you think that a lot of these guys, like, if TJ came over to my house right now, we'd probably smoke a blunt and then end up rolling? You know what I mean? So it's like, if we got it, we got it, you know. And a lot of guys have that fucking mentality. So do you feel like it's gonna be the guys that have that type of mentality that are getting the same training, mostly competing, or do you feel like there's gonna be some guys that might come in there a little bit unprepared because their gym is closed, but they just aren't a bitch, so they're gonna show up anyway?
Right. I think actually just about everybody. The only person I don't know about, because I think he's in Arizona right now, is that Keontae Murdoch, the guy that's fighting Joshua.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on in Arizona, if they're locked down, but I think most of the gyms in Minnesota, like the ones that are on our show, I think their gyms are not operating. So what I've just told them, I go, this is the news that the last news report that I've heard is that April 10th, that this quarantine will be lifted April 10th. That might change, but that's the last report that I got, that they're going to lift it April 10th, and that they're going to let some sporting events happen again May 1st. And so ours is May 3rd, so I'm still holding it. But here's what I've told people, though. I go, I'm still holding this event, so don't put yourselves in any danger, but try to keep in shape. I've told them to shadow box. I've told them to go for a run, put up a bag in their garage and work that. And if everybody's gym closes, they all have the same disadvantage in that sense that they're not getting the training that they would normally get. But if that's across the board, everybody's not training the same, then this fight should still be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that I talked about on an episode we did with.
No, TJ, shut up.
What was that? I think we cut out for a second.
Oh, I was gonna say that I was gonna say what you were gonna say.
Well, then I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. So we had an episode the other day. We were talking with Cooper Hayes, CJ Hayes, and that was one of the points it brought up was, it might be a disadvantage, but it's same as my son would say all around the board. I mean, you don't get to do this, I don't get to do this. And I want to ask you from a promoter standpoint, one of the things that CJ brought up and see what you thought about it, because he was hinting to, obviously a lot of guys aren't working out. They're not putting in the time they normally would put in. So some of those LBs might come rising up. And I don't want to get sensitive because fighters are very sensitive. So we're not going to talk about weight. But what's your thought as a promoter on booking potentially open fight or open weight fights or catch weight fights for guys during the first 2-3 months back after this all gets lifted to allow them to get back in shape?
Hold on, I don't know the weight classes that CJ was listing, but he split them up into 3 categories. So basically,
I want to say he said 155 and under, 155 to 170, and then 170 up.
Boom.
I usually like to have people that fight within 10 pounds of each other. Generally. Not saying that I haven't broken that guideline. But I usually like to...
About when you were doing your Valley Tudo fights back in the day?
Right. But I you guys remember the fight between Dizzy Birdman and
Marty.
Guy that you just fought, TJ. God, his name escapes me. Gary. That was a bit outside the 10 pounds. But I thought it was still a fair fight because
it was.
Because Dizzy Birdman, he's kind of unpredictable, and Gary at that time, I think, was he was 0-4 in MMA and then 0-2 in kickboxing. But he's made some. He's stepped up another leap, Gary, because he won that fight with the Dizzy Birdman, then he beat Marquis. So he's a different guy than he has been. Different.
Yeah, definitely.
But that one was out. That was one example of where I overlooked my own rules of.
Be afraid to. I mean, don't be afraid to say pass on this next question.
Sure.
But how much was the weight difference?
Well, here's what I tried to do. So Gary was supposed to be 265, and then Dizzy Birdman told me that he weighed 200, and so I said, as long as you guys are heavyweights, I can do this. And so I told the Dizzy Birdman to weigh with a coat on and maybe have a couple of rolls of quarters in that coat, and then to get above 205. And then I told Gary, but I think Gary was dipping everything in butter because he came in at 283, and the Dizzy Birdman, I don't know what he was doing. He went the other way. I think he was 183. So as wrong as this sounds, there was a 100-pound difference there. But I've watched both of them, and I actually thought that the Dizzy Birdman had an outside chance of winning that fight. So I kept it. But yeah, I probably should be in jail for that one.
To be fair, in boxing, they get away with 100-pound differences. So,
well, I mean,
kickboxing.
Andrew's boxing match, there was a 100-pound difference there.
Yeah.
In boxing, you're right, but boxing things are different,
Well, and then this was kickboxing, which has boxing in the name, which means
Same.
yes, science.
Science.
But you guys know that I'm telling the truth. That I admitted that error.
Yeah.
Nobody, thank God, nobody got hurt. Both of them were, got out of there unscathed. But the other fights, I have kept them, 10 pounds within 10 pounds of each other. And if they haven't, then I've changed things up where they were.
Yeah.
You guys know me. I don't like setting a guy up. I like fair fights on the show.
That's why. Okay, that's one of the things where I was gonna kind of touch on. I was waiting to bring it up, but you actually you just segued right into it. Okay, so the reason why I feel like a lot of the fights on your show are so good are because they're so evenly matched. I mean, it's not like, and I'm not trying to throw either guy under the bus at all. But me and TJ, we interviewed both guys, and I've actually had people respond to the interview about both guys, and like we're intrigued about the fight in itself, and both guys were actually able to get more people behind them and get them more intrigued behind them as well. And that was Noah, and I don't know I can't pronounce his last name, and then Adam Castor.
Yeah,
and,
here's the thing. No offense to these two guys.
They're not world beaters. They're not and that's no disrespect. No disrespect to either one of them. But like they're not the cream of the crop, the whatever. But these guys have heart and they want to fight.
Yeah.
And you met those two guys up against each other, and
so,
it was perfect.
Yeah, here's the thing: is that the fights on a show, to be entertaining, they don't have to be world-class guys. They just have to be even with each other. You could take two vagrants outside fighting over a bottle of mouthwash, and if they were even ability, that's an entertaining fight.
Yes. Oh my God. Okay, so one of the things too that that I'm always thinking about, just to relay off of what you said, was all the fights that happen in like high school and even like at the bar. It's like it's only because one, there's a fight going on, so I want to see, but everybody else wants to see because of what was said beforehand. The reason why nobody's walking away or why nobody's breaking it up. Oh, I want to see how this plays out.
Yeah.
Why do these two guys say that they want to fight each other? You know what I mean? And you're at a vantage point of being able to determine which guys actually match up with which person. You can, with all your skill and knowledge in coaching, being a gym owner, being a coach, being a fighter, being a promoter, all of that, you know how to gauge just based off of, accurately gauge, because it's there might always be some mismatch or whatever, right? But accurately gauge off of a guy who has a somewhat amount of time training and a somewhat amount of time wrestling in high school, or no time wrestling in high school and a such and such amount of time in training, and then this is their first fight, this is their third fight. You know how to take all of those things into consideration before seeing video, and then also having the relationship that you have with a lot of the guys in the community. Firsthand, you've seen them fight, you've seen them perform, and you know how to match these guys up. I feel like that gives you a really great vantage point. How does that play a factor in matching these guys up? Do you think of it firsthand, or do these guys has anybody asked to fight certain guys, or do you always just think like, hey, you match up, like me and TJ match up really good against each other, and you're gonna reach out to us?
Yeah, actually, that free Sunday roll or that free like free sparring day that we'd have on Sundays. I've had to cut that down lately because of this this coronavirus, unfortunately. But that was actually so the guys that weren't a part of any gym, but they would come in, because they could get a free day of working out somewhere. That was actually how I got a lot of my fights matched up, and I was able to watch them spar people on Sunday. So there was one fight that it was kind of odd. They had both been coming in, but on different days, so they had never met each other, never sparred each other, but they both weighed about 145. They both sparred my son Joshua when they were down there. So I had, because when he spars and he rolls, I watch him so I can help improve him, right? So then I was watching them also because they were going against him, and I was just thinking that would be an even fight between those two, and it turned out to be right because they went down to a split decision. It was Jesse Langsley versus Trevor Tomlamovich.
Yeah,
that was a split decision. Actually, they're doing a rematch on our show. They were one of the ones that also won fight of the night.
Yeah.
Because they were so good. That was so even. Like 2 judges voted for Tomlamovich, I believe, and then 1 judge voted for Jesse. But it was a very even fight. Anyway, they're fighting again on May 3rd. But I got a chance to watch some of these guys when we had that open roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, TJ.
No, I would say so. Yeah, you get this vantage point and looking down upon these guys, and it allows you to better your matchmaking skills. And obviously, the kickboxing shows, the BJJs and the cage shows, they've grown to such a point where the fans know what they can expect now when they come to a Valhalla Combat show. I'd be remiss if I don't ask this just for my own personal sake. Obviously, everything kind of got placed on pause with the COVID-19 going on right now, but is there still plans to bring back Valhalla MMA, or is the plan to stick with the kickboxing and the jiu-jitsu and the cage shows for now?
I'd like to start doing MMA again, and actually even do some boxing shows, but I'll have to I'm actually glad that I didn't, because I was looking. I would have bought it if I could have found a good deal on it, but I was actively looking for a boxing ring, and I had some people sending me pictures of stuff, but I just hadn't found the right deal or the right price on stuff. And then also some cage. There was one cage that I saw like in Canada, but that was actually a good deal as far as the cage went, but it would have cost me like $3,000 to ship here. So I just figured I'd wait. But anyway, I am, as soon as things open up, I'd like to do some MMA shows and boxing shows again. I've never done a boxing show. I've done kickboxing, as you know. I've done several MMA shows before, but I'd like to actually do a boxing event sometime.
That's awesome.
And then a lot of it is as far as MMA and MMA and the boxing shows would be my motivation behind it is like I've talked to some of the boxing promoters and I've asked them to get some of our guys' fights, but when you're dealing with a fight promoter, they want the fight that they want, not necessarily the fight that you need. So, for example, I'd like to get like our boxing coach Marty. I'd like to get him some boxing matches. He still competes. He still wants to fight. So I'd like to accommodate him. But I've talked to, I won't name who it was, but I talked to like a fight promoter, and he goes, "Sorry, I don't want to book a 50-year-old fighter." But Marty, as you guys know, you've seen him, you spar with him. He's still capable of fighting.
Oh yeah.
So I want to get him his matches, but so I might have to do it myself.
Yeah. No, you got to do what you got to do. I mean, yeah, I don't have a question. I'm just like, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
So, does he not know who fucking Marty the Wolfman Lindquist is?
There's a lot of people that come and see him, so I'm kind of scratching my head as to. I mean, I get it. You know, like a 50-year-old guy, you maybe don't want the liability, but God, he's the last person that would sue anybody.
Yeah,
he wants to fight.
but
And he's
what
got a lot
liability?
of people that come and see him, so he'd make money for a promotion.
He faces the same risk everybody else faces. I mean, they could easily find a good matchup. They just never mind. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, 100%. Marty's looking to fight. Marty loves to fight, and don't get it twisted. I've seen Marty in there, both in the sparring room and in actual competition against young 20-year-old kids, and I seen the look in their face when Marty cracks them. So Marty has plenty of fight left in him, and kudos to you, Jim, for looking to explore that avenue as well. Something that you're necessarily familiar with in the sense of doing it in the past. Just before we wrap it up here today, though, always like to give an open platform just to thank any sponsors, teammates, anybody outside of the gym, and the platform is yours, sir.
Well, I'd like to thank you guys. I always put you guys on our posters, and I thank you guys. So I list you guys as one of our sponsors. I want to thank you guys for what you're doing, not just for our gym and for our promotions, but for the whole fighting community. I think everybody should thank you for what you're doing, keeping the sport alive. I mean, it's this coronavirus is kind of putting us in danger too, but you're keeping it alive by doing your show. So I think we all owe you some gratitude for that. Thank you. Also, I'd like to thank I have a hard time remembering especially our CBD sponsor. They have such a long name.
Origin Wellness.
Origin Wellness CBD Boutique, Premier CBD Boutique. It's hard for me, especially all the punches I've taken all the years. I remember that group. I really like Danny Fay that runs that group. He's been really good for our shows and our gym. Max Nutrition in Coon Rapids. They've been great. Ink Shrinks has been with us for years. Really, really appreciate them. They've been giving tattoos for our fighters for years. Damon, you've gotten some. Josh has gotten some. Andrew has. So yeah, I'd like to see. I think that's all I can remember as far as our sponsors goes. But they've been a really big help for us.
Yeah. Well,
I know I forgot one. The Riddle of Steel, Bunkers, makes weapons. He's made some weapons for our shows. I want to shout him out. The Riddle of Steel, he's made like Viking axes for us and knives and stuff that we use as prizes.
That's awesome.
I'm glad that we were able to get you on. I mean, especially since we have to socially distance. Sorry.
Kind of faded out there, didn't hear you.
Especially since we have to socially distance ourselves.
Oh, sure.
I'm glad that we were able to speak, and can't wait to have you on again, especially before this next show. Possibly join us for a breakdown of the card, and
yeah, it'd be great. Yeah. I think we've got some good. I think these 5 fights that I have lined up. I'm still looking to get a couple of other ones. Talking. Are we on the air right now?
Yeah.
All right. So, all right. I'll be nice.
You can pause here. You can pause really quick and just say, "Don't be a hoe." Subscribe to Trash Talk with Damien and TJ. Peace out.
All right. I say that line.
Keep recording if you